I'm
Yeah,
waiting.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's perfect. Just
I heard this
we're
guy had the intro.
Yeah, he literally just said, "I've got the intro," and then.
All right, I know. I seriously, I got the intro.
Okay, go ahead. You do your thing.
On.
I am Christopher McNotopics, and this is the Dungeon of Despair. The setting: a small, cluttered apartment. A faint clatter of dice rolling echoes in the background. Fredo, sitting slouched in a chair, looks frustrated, staring at a half-written campaign. Shirley, his energetic and determined friend, stands over him with crossed arms. Sigh, Fredo, it's been weeks. We gotta get you out of the slump. Fredo, I can't, Shirley. Every session is a disaster. My players aren't engaged. The plot's going nowhere, and I'm the worst dungeon master ever. Mockingly, oh, please, it's not that bad, Fredo. Shirley, last week I fell asleep during the dragon fight. Oof. All right, Fredo. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But listen, you're overthinking it. You've got creativity in there somewhere. I don't know. Maybe I should just step down. Let someone else DM for a while. No way. You love DMing. You're just in a funk. What happened to the Fredo who once made goblins feel emotional with a tragic backstory? Yeah, well, that was when I had ideas. You still have ideas? You're just buried in the details. You know what you need. Therapy? No. A spark. You've been trying to script every moment. Let the players drive things for once. Improv, my friend. Improv? And they're going to walk all over me. Only if you let them. Start small. Give them a choice, but with consequences. Let the world react, not just the plot. If they feel like they matter, they'll care. Trust me. So you're saying, let the players' actions create the story instead of me forcing them down a path. Exactly. Stop railroading them into your narrative and let them build it with you. Plus, who says every session has to be a masterpiece? Some chaos can be fun. I guess I have been a bit controlling, huh? Just a bit. Look, why don't we just run a one-shot? No big stakes, just fun. Loosen up. Loosen those creative muscles some. All right, I think I can give it a shot. That's the spirit. Remember, if they start falling asleep again, just unleash a horde of owlbears. That always works. Yeah, I just might do that. And so, with Shirley's encouragement, Fredo Dungeon became not just a place of monsters, but a playground of possibilities. And sometimes that's all Dungeon Masters really needs. Dice rolling sounds and the sound of an owlbear roaring. Scene.
Okay, then.
That's all I got for this week. I hope you guys can carry the rest.
I'm not sure what that was.
I feel like that ends up at an Olive Garden.
I don't know. I feel like you're rolling dice at a Huddle House. Maybe we're not quite to Waffle House level, but
yeah,
Huddle at least.
Yeah, maybe an IHOP or Denny's.
IHOP, yeah, and somewhere 24 hours for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher, along with Grumpy Dungeon Master Jay.
And I guess it's now Grumpy Dungeon Master Dan and Grumpy Dungeon Master Kristian because they're here again.
Heyo.
I said it was Christopher McNotopics, not Christopher had a bunch of things to do. I haven't played D&D in like a week.
Whoa, man, you must be jonesing.
I too have not played D&D in over a week.
Hey, that's a long time.
I know.
I was lucky enough to actually play Ravenloft this weekend, the Curse of Strahd. We almost died. It was.
Did you add an extra H there in Strahd for a reason?
He did, yeah.
Yes, just because it's funny. We decided at third level we were going to try to kill a whole bunch of 6 vampire spawn. So we ran away. That's all we could have done. At third level, 6 vampire spawn.
Howard.
86 hit points apiece. Require
82. Calm down.
Oh, I'm sorry. 82. Jeez, he knows this off the top of his fucking head.
I do. I just ran vampire spawn encounters the last 2 game sessions I played.
Oh, okay.
Ran. Well, so yeah, I know exactly what their stats are.
82 hit points apiece. Require magic weapons to fully damage them. And we were short a person, so we only had 4 players instead of 5.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just not good times. But hey, we survived. We dealt with it, and we hit 4th level. So.
I'm still wondering where the problem is.
Yeah, pretty weak.
Yeah,
ran away.
Yeah, I really don't.
Boy, that's the old school solution. You don't fight to the death. You get away, and you come back with a better angle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's second edition. If you stand and fight everything, you're making new characters
Yes.
often.
Yeah, I mean, you do you, but I wouldn't have run. I
No,
mean, those vampire spawns would have eaten some children. They probably ate some old lady. That was someone's mom. That was someone's grandma.
They did eat our dwarf warlock. So
you lost somebody?
they went down. We managed to get them out of there alive.
They went down after having their hit points drained by their vampiric bite?
I don't think so.
I'm about to find out.
Yeah, I don't remember.
They got the claw.
You
Yeah,
just got the claw. Okay.
I think it was just the claw that dropped them. And then they're down on the ground. The vampires try to kill us. We run down the stairs out the front door. Vampires give chase up to the front door because it was kind of bright outside, and I say bright. It's fucking Ravenloft, so they could have come out and ended up doing that after a minute. But they basically, the vampire spawn don't want to be exposed in town. So they just sort of stayed at the front door. A couple of people started throwing spells and firing arrows and shit at them. I ran around the building, went up the wall into the second floor window, and fed our dying warlock a good berry.
Aha.
Yes.
We started calling them
no.
because we're playing Solasta with our good friend Daryl. We started calling them D berries because he's the only one that casts good berries.
Yes.
Daryl, other brother Daryl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, gave him a D berry.
Guys, I got bad news.
What?
5e Tools is updated to PHP 2024.
I saw that earlier.
Oh my.
Whatever will you do, but do nothing because nothing changed.
Enough changed.
There's enough changes. Like, I finally got the 5R 5.5 book.
You can still get to the old version. I just checked.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to navigate to it now.
Yep.
Yeah. I finally got the new book, and I have yet to even really start going through it because I don't have a lot of interest to go through it. We went through this thing so much before the damn thing even came out that I know enough of it. My buddy Mike, however, since he's DMing Ravenloft for us, he has been going through it pretty heavily the past couple of days, and he was talking about they've really streamlined character creation in this book pretty heavily. It's a lot easier. So you've actually had some practice with this, Chris. How so?
Well, I mean, they just laid it out better. The book itself just is a better book from a technical writing user manual perspective. So, like, the spells are with the character classes, the picking your background first, and stuff like that just helps with the flow of creating the character. By the way, none of those changes made it to D&D Beyond, so all the problems you have creating a character in D&D Beyond are still there.
Perfect.
I don't use D&D Beyond.
Yeah. But I'm really quite surprised it didn't update D&D Beyond to match how characters are created now. So, but it just laid out better. It flows a little bit better. It's written a little bit more clearer.
Yeah. See, I had talked about Pathfinder 2nd Edition a while back and how smooth the design on that book is for character creation. Like, it lays it all out. It's very, very easy to make characters in that game. And I know that WotC has a whole bunch of the people from Pathfinder working for them now. So I would assume that that's partly the reason for the new layout of that.
I mean, Pathfinder was basically created with a bunch of ex-WotC employees after 3rd edition because they didn't like 4th edition. So
right, and now WotC is hiring them back.
Well, WotC's got a lot more money than Paizo, so it makes sense.
Yeah. And presumably, at least as far as we know, pays on time, something that Paizo has not always managed.
Really? I not heard that.
I mean, every company has issues, but I mean,
payroll
not getting pay is a big problem, though.
There was a thing with some of their artists where they were kind of told one amount and maybe received a different amount, and it took them quite a bit of time for them to fix the issue.
We fixed the HR bug.
Yeah, there was a bug in the system.
We fixed the glitch.
The system is down.
Down.
See, Milton hasn't worked here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to move your desk downstairs.
Yeah.
I did talk about it last podcast about running the adventure that they gave us for the 50th anniversary thing, and I did finally get my normal player cover player's handbook in the mail over this weekend. But I also got the Solasta campaign guide as well. Yeah, that was much more interesting to look through the little time I had after this weekend to look through anything. So I went through there and kind of basically looked at all like the subclasses and kind of confirmed, just like, we're playing this last video game on our stream and just how much more fun some of the subclasses are. And why just the 2024
really
just
bad though.
You're always going to have really bad ones. Sometimes you just play something that's really bad. And the book is full of the really good ones, the really bad ones. How they laid out the races, it just feels like there's more in there that's new and different than the new 2024 book. And maybe it's just because I really just don't feel that 2024 is any different than the current version.
Well, honestly, there are going to be more new and different things in the Solasta book, because literally all of the races in the Solasta book have variations that have never existed elsewhere. It has, I think, probably 3 subclasses per class that have never existed anywhere else.
Yeah.
I find with most of the third-party content, they are willing, and maybe they're able, but they're definitely willing to take more creative license and creative risks. And they don't always land them. Sometimes you get classes and subclasses that are wildly underpowered or wildly overpowered, or
Chronomancer.
or just boring. But they're out there taking risks and being creative, and usually the stuff they come up with is better.
Yeah, and that was just kind of my disappointment with the PHB, the 5R one. It's just like nothing's different. Like the College of Dance, okay, cool, but there's nothing different there. I just feel let down.
I mean, you did get some new spells at least for the spell.
No, we got revamped spells. We didn't get new spells.
There are some that I absolutely.
Spells.
There's a couple of new ones. One that I definitely didn't recognize from anywhere is Yolande's Regal Presence.
Yeah, that's just there was a version of that in third edition.
Yeah,
yes, Yolande or something like that. It was. God, I gotta look it up now.
Yeah, I knew that. I know that pretty much every spell in here, even the new ones, are going to be rehashes from older editions. But for 5th edition, this spell, I don't recall it being in any books. It's actually it's pretty fucking good, is what it is.
I don't blame them for mining their history. Like in 2nd edition and 1st edition, they came out with they had Tome of Magic, and then they had 2nd edition had they had whole spell compendiums that were just tons and tons of spells.
Oh, 3rd edition's got thousands of spells. It's so many.
There's so much.
I feel that
add a ton of spells too. So
I feel I'll be a lot happier when the supplements come out, because it's not like this is a bad the new book's a bad book at all. I think it's a really great book, but it's just the same stuff updated and everything. And I don't want to rehash that too much, but it's just it's all the same. It's great the way it is. It's gonna be great for new players. This would be good for old players. But I need to see newer stuff. I need like the 80s adventure stuff. I need a bunch more stuff to come out, so I actually have things to mine from than just having a samey kind of book.
I think your core book kind of has to be that, though, because it has to be your kind of baseline. And so for people like us that have been playing the game for decades, it's always going to feel kind of boring.
Yeah.
the core books for all the editions have all been kind of the samey when you've been playing as long as like me and Dan and Jay have, or we've seen the editions come and go, and they change the rules of how things work, but you get your base classes and your subclasses are all some variation of things that have come before, and it's just all a parade of sort of same stuff where they kind of change up the mechanics a little bit.
Right, and I thought that because mechanics really didn't change in this release, that I'd be happier, and I'm not. Like,
Are you ever?
No,
Nope.
This is the Grumpy Dungeon Master podcast, not the Happy Joy podcast.
You're
Right.
It's gotta be grumpy.
I feel
Yeah.
let down because it feels very samey, but it's not bad. I just if there was this huge change to like a new edition, I'd hate it just the same, you know. So I would have.
I would have rather they taken some more risks and
Yeah.
kind of swung for the fences a little more. Even if they had missed, you would have been able to say, well, at least, they tried to do something wildly different. They tried to make a big change, even if nobody likes it or I don't like it personally. It would have at least been nice to see them do it, but that's not corporate and safe. So
I mean, like the only new thing, and I joked about this before, and I'll do it and I'll say it now. The only new thing is the fucking weapon masteries, and they're just a boring version of what they were in fourth. It's just,
and some of the stuff sort of existed in the DMG.
Yeah, they were all variant rules. Yeah, I mean, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that, like, even when it comes to the feats, I was expecting them to add a whole bunch more feats, but what they did is they just took the epic boons and turned them into epic level feats. So
yeah, I really don't know why they kind of nerf feats as much as they did.
Some of them needed it. Like, some of them were just busted as hell.
I think they're trying to make it so that, and I agree with this, is that there's not a like must pick feat, because then you get you can't build this kind of character without taking this feat unless you want to be underpowered. And
but
it sucks when there's a feat like that is clearly the best thing. Like great weapon master was always you always pick that because it was always the best.
And my hope is that, granted that feats are now just a part of the game now. They're back to being not an optional part. They are part of the game. You start off with a feat just even as part of your background. But previously, it was clear that every monster in the DMG was built to fight a 4-person party, and nobody has feats. Because if you put a single barbarian with great weapon master, reckless attacking every round and doing an extra plus 10 damage each time he hits, which he's going to hit most of the time because nothing in the DMG really has a high AC, or the monster manual has a high AC. I mean, Christian's right. Like, if feats were an option in the game, which I've never played in a game with feats were an option because we're all 3rd and 2nd edition players, and we got used to feats in 3rd edition Pathfinder. So of course, we have feats, but then we realize as a DM, like, all of my players just mauling the crap out of everything. So I'm interested in seeing whenever they come out with the monster manual, if they actually adapt the monsters to appropriately, account for the fact that people will have great weapons master, even though it's not going to be doing as much damage as it was. People will technically be hitting more often because unless you had advantage on every swing you were taking with great weapons master, you're going to miss pretty often. Because -5 is pretty significant when you're lower level.
Yeah.
So, but I also like the fact that they did what they did in Tasha's, which I really liked, where it was kind of a half ability score, half a feat. So the feats aren't OP, but you still get the +1 to strength. So you can start off as a fighter with 17 strength, and then pick up great weapon master at 4th level, so you can still do your cool thing with your 2-handed sword, and you can still have an 18 strength and not feel like you're falling behind.
Yeah, I feel like
always
they had
also a trade-off.
Yeah, they had to do that, I think, in order to make feats feel worth the trade of ability scores.
Yeah. And the way I see it now, like, at least any character that is not getting bonus feats, like I think only fighters and rogues get bonus feats at 6th level for fighter, take an extra bonus feat at 10th level for a rogue. Other than them, I think people will still try to, especially as a caster, you're still going to try to go for that maxed out ability score for your casting stat. But you're probably likely to, dip into like a warcaster or a spell sniper or something like that, because you want to get that even stat from your 17 that you start it with, and then you get your +2 ability score modifier at 8th level. So you're still only going to have fighters really slinging lots of feats, most likely, because people are still going to want to have above an 18 and things, just because that's just the nature of the game.
Yeah.
Especially casters, and let's be honest. We added a bunch of masteries and everything, but everybody is a caster in this game, and everybody has something that mimics the ability of a caster. Pretty much just a fighter and barbarian don't cast, and even then, some of the barbarians do actually do things that are kind of mimicking spells now.
And some fighters cast too. So,
And some
yeah.
fighters cast too. So it is a rare occasion when
Yeah.
you just have a fighter or a barbarian that just slings swords and axes, And you know what? More
Yeah.
power to them and their weapons bag full of random things. A hammer or an axe or a sword for just such an occasion. I think we've already talked to death the quick weapon switch that everyone's misreading rules as intended. So let's don't think we need to revisit it, but yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. And now every barbarian's either going to have the ability to knock things prone, or they have cleave just automatically because of weapon choices.
I mean,
And
right
that's
now,
fine.
the
Whatever.
annoying thing is push. Because it
Yeah.
moves minis around the board, and I hate fucking having to stand up all the goddamn time and move a
Doesn't
mini.
it doesn't mean shit to me.
Well, I mean, oh, you mean so digitally, or are you talking about actually in person?
Physically. Yeah, in person, yeah.
Oh, that didn't bother me. Like,
Yeah.
have the person who did it knock the mini over.
No, they get to move them back 2 spaces, and like, oh, you hit this thing. It just, all the
Yeah,
weapon
he has
masteries
to get up and do it.
slow things down so much.
That was my worry.
Yeah. Yeah, we were all a little concerned with that. Once you start adding in weird properties, it's going to slow things down on the battlefield, and then the DM's going to have
How
to.
is it different than having like a warlock or two in the party that just is pushing stuff back or pulling stuff forward all the time? Though,
I
mean,
tend not
is
to.
it different?
Yes, it is different. It is
You tend to
different
maybe have
because
one warlock.
yeah, you have one warlock. Now you have the fighter, the barbarian, and the paladin all doing that thing. Then they forget if they have Vex on the target or not, and then there's the saving rolls for the
again. I mean, we talked about this last time. I mean,
yeah.
If players
for
forget shit,
your first game, sure, remind them, but you don't have. It's not your job to remind them about what their weapons are doing.
I know, but it's just more complication when it was simple enough just to roll, get the damage, and be done with it. Yeah, it's cool that you have flavor now to the weapons, but I would rather seen that flavor be added to the dice rolls that the player was making. Like I bring up Brutal 1 a lot, where like if you roll the die and a die is a 1, you can re-roll it. Like that doesn't slow anything down. You're rolling a die, oh shit, 1, re-roll it again, and you're done.
I mean, technically it does because you have to roll it twice. But
but not really.
It absolutely does. It's the exact same thing, except you're just calling it something different, and you're being nostalgic for it because it's from an edition that you enjoy playing. It's the same thing, Waples. It is. It's the same thing.
Definitely.
No, but I
games get slowed down by people with
and also
with the elemental master or whatever, where you can't roll 1s or 2s on your
and Great Weapon Master, same thing.
Yeah. So that happens already, and it slows things down.
I don't mind that as much. Like for me personally, and like the Fantasy Flight system that they use for Star Wars, I really liked. I'd like the aspect of rolling dice and kind of seeing like how things end up. So I don't mind if the time wasting is up all on dice rolls, having to sit there and count out a fireball and see that you have 4 1s and get to re-roll those. There's like an action to that, and that I know that action is slowing down the game, quote unquote. But I still find it just as fun to do, whether I'm the player or the DM. Because I'm trying to see if they get a bigger number. I like it when my players hit big numbers. I don't mind the dice rolling things that slow down the game. I just hate everything else that seems to slow down the game. That's not a physical like thing.
So you don't mind the dice rolling. You just hate moving minis.
Yeah.
So all I'm going to say is that you haven't played in a party with a fighter that knocks people prone, or shield bashes them, or stops them with polar.
No, usually I'm that fighter.
Yeah, so basically you hate yourself. I got it.
I mean, that's.
You're literally the guy that you're saying you hate at your table.
Listen, I have a lot. I need therapy. All right.
Yeah, we know that. We know that.
Let's just stop there. Yeah. But like I will.
One else
I
does.
I will knock the minis down. I'll set them prone or whatnot. But a lot of players don't do that. So, I don't know. But that's just I like rolling dice. I like things that make people roll more dice. I don't mind the brutal as much as I do. I love like advantage and disadvantage. I really like those. Like I wish they would have more things for that.
So hang on. So let's talk about moving.
I wanted them
minis.
to steal boons and banes from Shadow the Demon Lord.
I'd be down for that. Let's talk about moving minis real quick. Now I know, Chris, you play some in person and some online. Dan, I think you're just all online at this point. But
Yeah, I play some in person.
yeah, okay. So I only play in person, and as the DM, usually I'm sitting behind the screen. The minis at our table are generally kind of out of my reach, so it's almost expected of my group of players that they're going to manipulate the minis. So it, I don't see that as any sort of an issue moving miniatures around. Oh, you get pushed 10 feet, fine. Hey, Steve over here, move that mini, 10 feet back or whatever. It seems like a very, very simple thing to do that shouldn't complicate anything. If you're going to play with minis in the first place to show location of players, moving them for whatever the reason is just part of the game at that point.
Right.
Yes, and it was.
No, I agree.
And everyone has to participate in it, not just the
player
game master.
Yeah, it's player responsibility. If your character does the action, then do that part of the action. If you forget to push them 10 feet back or knock them over, sorry. You forgot.
And it was great. But now, okay. Now it's like, and I didn't have this problem with 4th edition, oddly enough, even though the same properties did happen in 4th edition.
You were 15 years younger.
Fair. But like the Avenger class in 4th edition, it was built to move minis around the table. Okay. And the players usually handled that because they knew where they were going to move the mini. When it said like you hit the target and the target is shifted 10 feet to the space that you want, you shift it 10 feet to the space that you want. So you know where that mini is going. When now, though, when you run up to somebody and hit it with a maul, okay, I think it's a maul, whatever it is, and it has the push mechanic on it, and it says it knocks it back 10 feet, okay, that 10 feet is now for the DM to decide where that 10 feet goes, okay? And then there's people in the way, other monsters in the way. How do you manage that? Does it not get pushed back at all, or does it go flying over because it's a small creature? Yada, 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 yada. So in 4th edition, when the players moved the minis, it was part of their actions and abilities. So they moved the mini where they wanted it to go. Now there's a stop. The DM has to make a call, make a decision about how this thing is going, and then where it lands, and then everything else from that perspective of like, oh, it's too close to the cliff. Maybe it fell in the water because it just get pushed. Did it also land prone, or did it just get slid back 10 feet? Like, none of that was really clear. They just said move the mini back 10 feet. And then the first combat that they provide you for an example of how to use these new abilities, everybody gets swarmed with fucking the frog people. Can't remember their damn names. So there's like a horde of
grungs.
No, the
Bullywug.
Bullywugs. Yeah,
Bullywugs. Okay.
So you get surrounded by bullywugs, and so you try to knock one back, and there's like 3 more behind it. So like they don't tell you really like they did in 4th edition when you have a conflict of mini upon mini.
I think
this is a generational thing.
I think you might also be misreading this, Waples. Push. If you hit a creature with this weapon, you can push the creature up to 10 feet straight away from yourself if it is large or smaller.
Yeah.
That is straightforward. How is it that you have to make a decision as Dungeon Master?
Because like
there.
I said in the first encounter, right? You get swarmed by like 9. No, sorry, it's 12 bullywugs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they surround the barbarian character. All right, so there's now 3 pretty much in every direction. So he hits one bullywug, it's got to go back 10 feet. Okay, but there's already bullywug standing there.
Yeah, you can't. It's been a general rule you can't push anything through other people's spaces, so it doesn't go anywhere.
It either doesn't go anywhere or use the same rule that is always there for any sort of movement-based or teleport ability, where it says, if that space is occupied, you do the
or
nearest
it falls into the nearest unoccupied square.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where the decision now comes to go. Okay, do you want this bullywug to be on the left, on the right, or catty corner to the 10 feet? It's just
it's a very easy decision to make.
You just say nearest square, let the player put it.
It is a very easy decision to make, but the way it is in 5th, the players will make the decision the DM does. Now, if I just want to be casual about it, I
disagree. You just say nearest space, and the player. I think this is literally a generational divide. I do think that that's what this is, because the 3 of us have been playing longer. We grew up in older editions where it was constantly, there were no rules for everything. It was just DM rulings, and we made them quickly, and you learned, you honed your instincts, you made them quickly, and you kept the play going. And now people that have been weaned on 3.5, 4th edition, 5th edition, it's all rules. It's like a board game where it's all rules, and this has to be like this, and this has to be like this, and these are set pieces. And so the ability to make calls has become like a stress point for players that are used to being kind of bound and guided by the rules, where I think we're very used to not needing as many rules and us just making a call, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, you definitely can't do that in Adventures League, man.
Yeah, that sounds exceedingly accurate. I think that is what's going on here.
So like
all 3 of us just are like, oh, it's no big deal. You just make a call and do this.
I will say I would probably be a little bit annoyed by it, because all the games I run are online, so it would be up to me to push them. But I would say, hey, Kristian, where do you want to push this guy? And be like, oh, over there. I'm like, okay, token moves, but it's only because I'm the only one that can control the token.
Right, yeah.
Because
it's the same thing with the game I was running. Rob was playing that Minotaur, and he was constantly throwing things all over the place. It was just, he would tell me, hey, I'm going to horns him, and I would, because he knew his abilities, he would say, I'm going to horns him, and I throw him over there. I'd be like, cool, that's where he goes.
Yeah,
exactly.
So when it was player driven, like I said in 4th edition, it was super easy. It was just like, okay, I want to hit this guy. I'm going to move him here. Done. And then I can't move him there because there's a mini in that spot, so I can move him here. But now it's like, okay, DM, you have to decide where the monster gets pushed, and then just like,
I mean, you're the game
master. I don't care where it gets pushed. Just do it. Just move it.
You're the
game
player's
master. Like, are you sure where? Here, over here, and then they stack the minis like half on the square, not fully on the square.
That's your rule. Nearest available space.
Yes, and when you get a lot of players that I really know, I can trust them to do that. That doesn't happen a lot.
So it's an Adventures League
game. It doesn't matter that much. Just tell them to be like, just put it in the nearest space and go on. Keep the game moving.
So, complete tangent here, back to something that I've been looking up since we talked about it earlier. Whenever Waples was complaining that there were no new spells, and Jay pointed out rightly that there are new spells.
There's a couple, but they're all
I can calm down. Was Yolanda's Regal Presence, and I kept on thinking, I know this was a spell in 3.5, and I was wrong. It actually wasn't a spell in 3.5. It was a spell in Pathfinder 1st edition.
Oh, okay.
So they basically copied and slightly altered a spell from Pathfinder called Overwhelming Presence, which is a 9th level wizard sorcerer spell or 6th level bard spell, because of course in Pathfinder or 1st edition in 3.5 you could only cast up to 6 level spells as a bard, but the bard spells that were 6th level were the equivalent of a 9th level spell if they were enchantment. Right. But anyway, Overwhelming Presence, because I just looked it up, reads like this. Your presence inspires incredible awe in those nearby. A creature that fails a saving throw falls to the ground and prostrates itself before you, believing it bows before a divine presence. A flying creature capable of hovering must land immediately in order to prostrate itself as well. These creatures are considered to be helpless for the duration of the spell. Each round on its turn, a target of the spell may attempt a new saving throw. It is a full round action that does not provoke opportunity attacks. A creature that recovers from the spell early after being affected by it for at least one round takes 1d6 points of wisdom drain and is staggered for 1d4 rounds, which is all terrifyingly horrible for a high level game in Pathfinder.
Oh yeah.
A creature that makes initial save to resist the spell is merely staggered for a round. So even it has effect even if you make the save.
It's
And
magic.
the one for Yolanda's regal presence is you surround yourself with unearthly majesty in a 10-foot emanation. Whenever the emanation enters the space of a creature you can see, and whenever a creature you can see enters the emanation or ends its turn there, you can force the creature to make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, take 46 psychic damage and has to be prone, has the prone condition, so same thing. And you can push it up to 10 feet away. On a successful save, the target only takes half as much damage, and you only have to make the save once per turn, which because it reads kind of like the Spirit Guardians and all the other spells that are very similar to it that they've kind of simplified. But it's very, very similar. And I will say that Pathfinder wasn't exactly original either. They definitely just stole that straight up from Vampire the Masquerade and Vampire the Dark Ages because it's level 5 presence ability called Majesty, which was the same thing.
I can actually look that up. I actually have the vampire book here in my lap.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, I actually pulled up a PDF of my old Vampire the Dark Ages book, which
is it Presence? Majesty.
It's Presence 5, Majesty. It's in the Masquerade and in the Dark Ages, but yeah,
you are almost universally respected and feared unless mortals or even kindred stop to consider their feelings about you. They're likely to treat you respectfully without conscious thought. The actual the way it works, subject can make a courage roll. If she wishes to be rude, crass, or even non-servile to the vampire. A subject who fails the roll will go to absurd lengths to humble herself before the vampire. It's fucking great.
Yeah, so that is just going back to Vampire and all and different games like that. It's the reason why, in D&D, you kill the wizard first, right?
Yeah.
In Vampire, you kill the Ventru first, or you kill the Toreador. Why? Because they're going to have Presence 5, and they're just going to make you bow before them if you don't.
Crowd control. That's why.
Yeah, it's absolute crowd control. And, if you had the Ventru in the party, like he would just walk up there and be like, "Bow before me," and just that's it. Fight over. Like if they weren't a bunch of powerful vampires, they were kneeling, and your crew, your gangrel and Bruja are just cleaning up and murdering them.
Yep.
So,
but either way, I like the fact that they added this. It's funny that they just kind of added some new wizard named Yolanda that I never heard of to it as a name. They could have just said Regal Presence or something like that. But yeah, it's a cool spell. I like it.
So this weekend I was writing rumors for the LARP weekend, and I had a rumor going out that that there's a group called Butchery that wanted basically, they wanted to give you power, and if you wanted to receive the power, you needed to go prostrate yourself in front of a boar. And I sat there after I wrote it and was like, will anyone know what this sentence means if I say go prostrate yourself in front of a boar? Or will they read it and read something completely different and I'll get in trouble? So then I had to back out prostrate and put down bow. I was like, okay, I'll just be safe.
What? I'm not touching a boar with my prostate. Thanks.
I didn't want to get in trouble.
Absolutely.
So Yolanda is a elven queen in Greyhawk. So it's a call back to the old Greyhawk setting.
That would make sense. I mean, literally every other spell is named after a fucking wizard from Greyhawk.
Greyhawk,
yeah.
And you got the new Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron.
Yeah,
that's fun. That's a fun spell.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that one.
Like I said, there were some new spells, but there weren't any.
All right, man. Okay, yeah. So I've been playing a Greyhawk campaign for 4 years. I've never heard of Yolanda. Grey Elven Queen of the Elven Kingdom of Selene. Her honorifics include her Fey Majesty, the Fairy Queen, and the Perfect Flower of Selene.
Huh.
Okay.
Interesting.
I'm a pretty flower. Yes,
Probably not a
you
reason
are.
here. Greyhawk's a big kitchen sink world, so like if you're not directly interacting with the Elven Kingdom, there'd be no real reason to hear of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much I don't know about Faerun. All I know is the Sword Coast. Everything else is the Forgotten Realms.
That's because that's the only thing they wrote about in 5th edition.
In 5th edition, yeah, but I mean, 1st edition, 2nd edition. I mean,
I got my old box sets.
all those gold box games all took place around the Moonsea, Zentil Keep, and
Mm-hmm.
Hillsfar, Flan, Mulemaster. Yeah. I ran a game a few years ago, which is basically the Pool of Radiance series, and they ended up going to Mulemaster, and for whatever reason, the criminal activity there, I decided to go with a very over the top Italian accent, and they were definitely doing some things over here, and you could get this and that from the black market. Something just maybe fell off a wagon you can buy.
It's because they had like this developed like criminal underground from Wildest, so you definitely decided it was an Italian city run by the mob.
Yeah.
In our context, of Mulemaster was literally
Exactly.
a guy named Vinny from Mulemaster.
And his name's Vinny from Mulemaster. It was a great time. It was a great time.
Fucking love it.
But yeah, I mean, earlier D&D definitely took place in other locations for sure.
Oh yeah.
What is that module that I think it might be in Tales from the Yawning Portal. It's the one about the Red Wizards. Because I've literally never played anywhere where the Red Wizards were a problem, and not a single game that I've been in.
Yeah, they're all the way off.
I know. Which is hilarious that they use them as the big bad guys from the D&D movie.
Yeah, so there was Dead and Thay.
Dead and Thay. Okay, yeah.
Oh well, the thing is too is that one of the better Adventure League modules when they were still writing stuff in Adventures League was basically a Red Wizard module that took place in Thay and all that, and it went on for like 2 or 3 years. I'm really hoping they go through and like put that into a book, because that whole adventure module, even though it is written for Adventures League style play, was a years long couple campaign, like really the only thing made just for Adventures League that was like super full campaign and not just a rehash of what was going on currently with the book.
So 3.5 realized that Thay and the Red Wizards made for great villains, and so they did this thing to spread Red Wizards through, because they kind of realized they're like off in this weird corner of the world where just there's not a whole lot of reason to go, especially if you know that place is an evil wizard empire. Why would you go there?
Mm-hmm.
So they did this thing where they decided that the Red Wizards, much like the Zentarum now in 5th edition, started building mercantile enclaves where they would do little mini settlements, cities called enclaves, and they would attach them to all kinds of other cities all over the rest of the Forgotten Realms.
It's like a Dollar General.
It would be. It's like having a Chinatown or something like that in a bunch of other cities. They would a bunch of Red Wizards and their followers and apprentices and a bunch of Thayans would come in and they would offer magical goods and stuff. But it gave you a reason why you could have Red Wizards all over the place in the Forgotten Realms and make them as a villain and interact with them. And it was kind of cool because they are great villains.
So they even released a couple of expansion books specifically on those areas, on the Red Wizard, and I wish I had the book right here in front of me, but useful information from those.
Mm-hmm. So Dead and Thay was actually a part of a series called Dreams of the Red Wizards, and that's what I was talking about for Adventures League. Dead and Thay is actually, according to the publication of the book, was created in 2014 as an adventure for D&D Encounters, which was 4th edition Adventures League. It also serves as a playtest for the rules that eventually became 5th edition. And so the whole module book, this Dreams of the Red Wizards, is that, with that being stuck into it along the way.
Yeah, I'm just reading the synopsis right now of it. It's actually an interesting premise. Wonder how
Yeah.
long it would take to run this one, because most of the Yawning Portal stuff is maybe 3 or 4 sessions. This one looks pretty
That one's big.
involved.
Yeah, that's a large one.
Yeah.
And
And
now
it's,
that you mentioned Dreams of the Red Wizards, I remember this cover art. My
Mhm.
brother had a copy of this, and I think he intended to run it. We never got around to it in second ed.
Okay.
But I love. I'm looking at like the images of on eBay of a copy of this, where it's got like the parchment paper and everything, and it's all black and white on the interior. And I can't tell who the cover artist is. Maybe Jay can. I don't.
If I saw a picture of it,
It's not Elmore. Maybe Clyde Caldwell.
I don't know. If you
Caldwell.
sent me a picture, I could maybe tell you. But and it was Unapproachable East was the
Oh,
third.
yeah.
That's the third edition book that sort of details out the Red Wizards and all of the area around there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I did buy my the Land of the Red Wizards. I got that Ed Greenwood book. So I
Yeah,
have,
I think I got a PDF of that.
yeah, I think I shared that. But yeah, I got that. I
Yeah.
read through this. It was really cool, like getting pretty much Ed Greenwood's straight take on the Red Wizards and everything. And they got a section in there going, so these guys like are really bad guys and they do bad things like slavery and stuff, which we don't condone at all in any way, shape, or form. But it's a thing there.
But they're great villains because you don't feel bad about murdering slavers.
Yep.
The first edition modules Against the Slave Lords, there's a scene where you end up being able to sneak up on a slaver city in the middle of a volcano. And if you've managed to get in there or disguise yourself somehow, get in there, you can try to free all the slaves and escape with them across this lake, this boiling lake that's in the volcano. And me and another one of the players in our Greyhawk game snuck into this barracks where there's a bunch of like guardsmen, all slavers, but basically guard stats, right? So like we kind of look at each other like they're all sleeping, and we have like a ridiculous stealth, and we already ganked the guards that were actually on duty. Do we feel bad about murdering these guys? We're like both look at each other like they're slavers, and we just killed like 40 guys. And like it's been a running thing for the last 3 years because like we'll just make an offhand comment in front of the paladin and the cleric that don't know that we did this, like referring back to it's like, what do you guys say? It's like, oh, nothing, just all the slavers we killed. All the slavers we killed. Yeah, because we killed a lot of slavers when we were in that city. You kind of look at each other like, okay, do we mention that we killed 40 of these guys in their sleep? But
no one will care. No one will miss them.
No one's gonna miss these guys. Listen, if they did, there was a volcanic eruption shortly thereafter. They would have died anyway. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We just sped them along their way. Didn't feel bad about it at all.
Yeah.
So let's move on. I got a couple little topics I wanted to talk about before we wrap this podcast up. I briefly got to talk to you guys offline about me picking up the Dungeonmeister Random Monster Generator book.
Oh boy, yeah.
Oh my god, this thing is so good. And at the time I talked to you guys about it, I hadn't had a chance to read through it to figure out how it works. But yeah, basically, for anybody who hasn't seen it, look it up. It is the Dungeonmeister Random Monster Generator. I got it for like $20, and it allows you to make random monsters at any point very, very quickly and easily. And it is a flip book where there's it's separated into 3 parts. You have a flip section for the head, a flip section for the body, and a flip section for the feet. And the head section will determine the intelligence and wisdom. The body determines the armor class, constitution, and strength scores. And the feet section determines the dexterity, charisma, and the movement. And the head, body, and feet all have a hit point number that you will just add together to get the total hit points for the creature. They did say in here that the monsters are going to all be between a challenge rating 3 and 4, because that's what most games are played at. And honestly, a CR 3 and 4 monster is pretty basic. It's pretty easy to adjust it if you need to.
Mhm.
So just as an example, I've flipped open randomly I have a creature here that would have 77 hit points. It's called a Sir Tragine. It has two dragon or serpent heads, almost like an owlbear like body, and its legs are kind of like a minotaur. So the abilities for this thing, the head, it has advantage on all intelligence, wisdom, and charisma based checks and saves. It also has dark vision. The body, it is an apex predator. At the start of this creature's turn, it may designate one creature as its prey. All damage against the prey target is increased by 1d6. It lasts until the end of this creature's turn. It tells what attacks it has. It'd be 2d6 plus 5 slashing damage at a plus 7 to hit. And the feat on the hunt. As a bonus action, this creature may move 15 feet toward an enemy that has fewer than its maximum hit points. So that is a solid, just random monster. And you can use the artwork, or you can just make up what it looks like. They even say feel free to adjust the names. But I mean, I could easily, if you just need some random shit to throw at somebody, this thing's perfect. It's very, very quick, very easy to use.
It
I don't think
reminds
I'd ever be of the mind to actually use that in a game that wasn't intended. Like if I was doing something where I'm just literally populating a dungeon as we go along, I would definitely use that.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
like, okay, guys, so the next room is just roll some dice. Yeah, it's like 20 feet by 20 feet. It's got like sort of a groin vaulted 20-foot ceiling. And you see hold on a second, let me flip through here. Yeah, it's got you got a cataplepus ahead, and it roll initiative is what's going to happen. It just kind of honks at you, I guess. I don't know. It like that would be like a fun one shot that maybe everybody's drinking a little too much, but I don't think I could run a serious game
So
unless we were going to like a Chaos Wizard's Tower or something. I don't know.
my initial. So there's two ways you could run this as a serious thing. One, you could do just a standard dungeon or whatever that had been a mad wizard who was just combining critters, and this is what you got. Or you could do a long-term adventure where there's some crazy mad wizard who's released these random inventions upon the world, and you have to hunt down all of them. But
I really do like the book a lot. Like I think it's like the Shadow Dark has that built into its normal manual, where it says like,
does.
hey, yeah, here's all the monster parts. Roll on the table, make that monster show up. It's pretty much the GRU, like it's whatever you want it to be. And his book reminds me of a card game I played once or twice called Epic Spell Wars, where basically you have a deck of cards and you're basically building a spell.
Oh, I
piece by
am very
piece.
familiar with Epic Spell Wars.
It's so much fun.
Yeah,
So
we used to play that at Dragon Con in the board gaming room, and it was just kind of hilarious. Just ridiculous wizard spells coming together. It was a great time.
yeah, what was it? The the Dead Wizard's Fool's Go of the Phantom Gem. Yeah. Sir Lalsar's Mysterious Power Vortex.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. But I really like having random monsters. Like I'm not having a problem, but I have a player that knows the monster manual, and like I used a Banderhop once. He was like, "Man, I had no idea what that was," but then after the fight and everything, I looked back up. I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that when I was a kid from a long time ago." So like I'm trying to find keep it a little interesting for this veteran player who kind of knows everything. So, he's not just fighting the same things he's fought 1,000 times. That's where that Slithermorph has come from. Like once I saw that, it's like, I have to use this because he's not going to know what this fucking thing is. And it's going to blow his mind. So,
another place where third-party monster books and stuff can really come in handy because you can grab stuff that either it's a similar type of creature, but it's an alternate version of it, so it has different stats and abilities, and then they get confused. But it's a great way to throw things for players that have been playing a long time. Is you get new monsters, or you get similar monsters that are different kinds. Like instead of just a Minotaur, it's a Minotaur swordsman, or a Minotaur pirate, or other types of things like that. You get new monsters, you give them a twist, and then it becomes brand new again because all of a sudden this player's going, oh, that's not what this monster normally does. I might not know everything. I might need to approach this differently.
Yeah, and at least my players don't like use that knowledge to their advantage. I talked about this years ago, where like there was an Arcana lot that they were about to mess with, and like he was like, "All right, well, I'm going to cast Disguise on myself, and I'm going to run in there, and I'm going to make a deception check against them to try to convince them that we're here the entire time." And it's a 25, but it doesn't matter because he has True Sight, you know. So I love my players that they know for a fact like this is not going to work, but they'll still go through with it because PCs don't know. I do love books like that that just have a random just assortment of craziness that I can just like pull out at any time, so I can keep things fresh. And D&D Beyond is doing great with all their third party content they've added in. But now when I search for like a kobold, I get a kobold, I get the MCDM kobold, and I get other publications of other kobolds as well. So I can kind of pick the one that I really like and really want,
Yeah, I know. I think that's fantastic because or you could just pick it at random and be like, you know what? Even I don't know which one they're going to fight, but they're going to fight one of them, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I definitely am on board with that as well. We've talked about the number of different third-party authors that have provided a number of options that aren't just, hey, here's a stack of hit points from the monster manual that everyone knows the stats of. And I like keeping my players guessing. It's like, hey, you guys see a group of orcs on the over the hill. Looks like they don't notice you. Do you guys engage? And a veteran player who knows the monster manual will be like, it's a bunch of orcs. We're level 5. We're gonna beat their asses. Whereas, like, my players are like, I don't know. Maybe we don't mess around with that because maybe, I don't know, there's like an orc chieftain and like a couple of orc barbarians there that are going to beat our asses.
Yep.
And we don't need to fight these guys. Let's just hide. There's no point to fight them.
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot in a lot of the games that I've been running recently, that every combat has to have a physical challenge to it that has to be won,
Yeah.
And you try to throw a little bit of spin and mystery and puzzle solving in there, and they hate it for some reason. You're like, oh, come on, guys. You're better than this. Just put the colored shapes in the square.
And sometimes you have to run the fuck away.
Sometimes you got to run away from six vampire spawn because, well, you guys don't have any magic weapons, because I know how few magic weapons are in by the book Curse of Strahd.
Yeah, not a lot.
And the answer is not many.
Yeah, not many. Not much studded leather armor either.
Yeah, not much. There's literally no studded leather armor of note in that place.
And here I am playing a rogue. I'm fucked.
Yeah. So years ago, Michelle Sleeper showed up to the LARP with us, and Jay, you were there, and she had something where there was some other plane that we had access to, and we wanted to go explore it. It was the first time this place was open.
I remember this very well. Yeah,
and you go through this whole thing, and the plane gets opened up. All right, and I don't remember much was going on. I'm playing Thaladred. I am just there to hit things. And up in front is our friend Kristen, who's playing one of the monsters. Kristen's this very, very, very tiny human being. And she's playing a monster that basically is like a giant mouth with tentacles searching for things. And when it finds things, it eats it. And I'm just like, I want to hit it. I want to kill it. I don't know what this is. I want to hit it and kill it. And Jay is his character, who's the wizard, who maybe knows better. Just like, no, fuck that thing. I don't know what it is. We're getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, we left shortly after. We were in the oubliette, somewhere in the fucking plane of chaos or whatever. I don't even know exactly where, but we were playing around with shit. We didn't know what it was, and we didn't have a whole lot of people with us. So
I wanted to hit it so bad. I was still disappointed that they're like, no, we're leaving now. I'm like, no, I want to hit thing. It'll be fun.
I've learned from experience. That's how I die in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, starting a fight with something you have no idea about is just a veteran player should be wary.
For me, it's he's just there to hit things.
Yeah.
the thing that hits right there. There's no other question. I know exactly what I'm here to do.
You big dumb fighter. That's what you're there for.
Yeah.
Oh man. So speaking of Ed Greenwood and Kristian, you asked me about this last week on the podcast. So of course I had no choice but to look it up. The ecology of the Ixitxachitl.
Yeah, I know.
I've got the word in front of me. I can't even fucking pronounce it, despite me saying it correctly in my head all fucking day. Ixitxachitl.
Yep.
The manta ray. Yep.
Yeah. A lot of people wouldn't even know what the fuck this thing is. I've never used it. I knew they were manta ray people. I knew they were evil, but I didn't know anything about them until I read this thing. So what I'm going to go over, I'm sure you guys probably already know all about it, but it was written by Ed Greenwood. So, hey, there's that.
Yeah.
But apparently they're followers of Demogorgon, and they absolutely fucking hate Orcus.
Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, I gotta look these up. I gotta throw these guys in Throne of Bloodstone.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, is there an underwater section in Throne of Bloodstone? Because if there isn't,
there are 666 layers of the abyss. What do you think?
So there is. There absolutely is. These guys, they love Demogorgon. They fucking hate Orcus. And one interesting.
I'd love my players to make a deal with Demogorgon.
But apparently, mind you, realize this article was written for first or second edition. So they love casting the Raise Dead spell. Or create undead, whatever. Yeah, animate dead. The animate dead spell. They love casting that thing, but they can't control or influence other undead because Orcus sort of has control over that domain of things.
He sure does.
Yep. But otherwise, they fight with marrows all the time. They fight with every fucking thing under the water. They're pretty much they're carnivores. They eat every damn thing that's fleshy and moving. Other than that, they can be priest. But the weirdest thing about them that I found through this is what's referred to as a vampiric Ixitxachitl.
Yep.
They're not actually vampires though. They're randomly born. Like there's no explanation as to why these things are born as a vampiric version of them. But they're not kicked out of the tribe. They're not destroyed. They're just another one of the tribe, and they have a vampiric bite. And I had to look these things up for 5th edition because you can find it on 5e Tools Bestiary. Vampiric Ixitxachitl Cleric. So they've got like 3rd level spells. They have a vampiric bite and their normal attacks. So something new and interesting for you to add into your Throne of Bloodstone, apparently.
Fantastic.
Oh, and since we are talking about the ecology, and I care so much about how things poop and how they mate, it doesn't mention them pooping at all, but they are carnivorous, so I imagine they poop just like we do. And as for mating, they mate about once a year. They have 1 child on average, and it's full grown in about a month. with a gestation period of 6 months.
Awesome.
I love that they actually write that shit.
Yep, I know.
That's what's missing from the new books.
Yeah, we really need to get back to that.
Yep. Like, really, do we even give a shit? No.
Somebody's right about it and tell you anyway, though.
I'm still floored by the Tarrasque ecology. Like,
oh my god, yeah, so many details on that one.
Because I have to start thinking now, how does Godzilla poop?
No, we're done. I'm about to end the podcast right now.
We're
like,
good.
does he even consume matter? Because he just lives off of nuclear energy.
Boys.
Bye, Craig. Bye.